Tonight, my part in this public lecture will be to outline the Tropical Philanthropy project and the Laos field trip. I will then hand over to the volunteer team, the students, to present short vignettes of their experiences of engagement. And these vary in content and also in the form in which they are presented. I think we've got stuff from some video through to some music. Also, I would just like to thank several people behind the scenes in this. We've got the events manager who helped us manage this event. We've got Lenny Gerlings who helped us with getting over to Laos with some of the logistics things, and one of our tutors, Nur Rashid, who came along to the Tropical Philanthropy fieldwork. The Tropical Philanthropy project was conceived over a year ago with the aim of engaging James Cook University Singapore students and alumni in international volunteer practice during short field trips in Southeast Asia. The further aim of the Tropical Philanthropy project is to reflect upon the daily practices of volunteering through using methods of visual anthropology, which include photography and keeping of a reflective journal. The prerequisite for joining the program is that students have taken at least one of the cultural anthropology subjects we offer, and we offer several subjects in cultural anthropology here. So anthropology is the study of living cultures, and it has a strong theoretical emphasis on getting past our own ethnocentrism. And ethnocentrism is basically referring to the idea that we think our own culture is the normal one or the superior one. This is important for philanthropy practice, where we need to get past any notion of cultural superiority in order to understand that philanthropy is as much about engaging and respecting other cultural viewpoints as about giving or service. Anthropology also emphasizes the notion of reciprocity. My first year anthropology students who are in the room or have taken first year anthropology will actually recognize that word. They had to learn it off by heart almost. Notion of reciprocity is the idea of giving, receiving and giving back, which is a complex two-way social engagement. And finally, anthropology stresses reflexive practice, which is done through keeping a journal and reflecting on daily encounters, including identifying and critiquing any of our preconceived or ethnocentric ideals that we still hold. The Tropical Philanthropy project consists of 3 field trips. So our advertisement for this one, if anyone's really good on identifying places in Southeast Asia, will have noticed that it was actually set in Cambodia. It's our logo photo. So our particular photo that we're using for our Laos trip is this one that we've got up here. It's a different photo. Tropical Philanthropy consists of 3 field trips that we're going to make over a period of 3 years. The first one was planned for Laos, which we've just done, and then for Myanmar and Cambodia. For each field trip, Tropical Philanthropy pairs with a locally run, non-government and non-profit program. This is really important to ensure that we're engaging with a local project so our team fits in with the needs identified by locals, run by locals, for local people. It also ensures sustainability of the project. It means if we disappear, other people can take that up and continue on with it. So tonight's exhibition and the public lecture is about our first trip to Laos, and it was our small pilot project, essentially. The UNESCO World Heritage City of Luang Prabang in Laos attracts large numbers of international tourists. Its city life includes a heady mixture of architecture from Buddhist temples to French colonial buildings, as well as daily rituals that include Buddhist rituals, the rituals of cafe society by tourists, tourist organisations taking up the streets and their rituals of getting tourists to buy things. We've also got food stalls and night markets. These are all parts of rituals. There's also a daily ritual of study, the study for school children, college and university students, and for monks. A local non-profit organisation situated in the city is trying to change one study ritual, that of reading. Their aim is to change from practice of rote memorising reading to reading for pleasure. In a country with one of the lowest literary rates in Southeast Asia, the Big Brother Mouse program plays an important role. And I'll just give you a little idea of what Big Brother Mouse looks like by their screenshot. Big Brother Mouse draws the international tourists who pass through the city into volunteer reading rooms, and through donation it publishes small books about local topics and stories written by locals, and it also organises a thing they call a book party. These are sponsored events where books are transported from the city centre by truck or boat or foot, or sometimes even by elephant, to surrounding regions where school teachers and students are engaged in reading for fun. They're taught how to read for fun while the Big Brother Mouse team is there. Thus, the Big Brother Mouse project extends its networks from the city to rural areas, expanding community relations and the reading practices that it believes in. Our team volunteered in English conversations at the Big Brother Mouse Dropin Centre every morning and every evening. We divided into two groups, and one group went in the morning and one group went in the evening. Then we swapped around and did it in the reverse order. At the Dropin Centre we met many high school, college and university students. These were older students, not younger students. Some of these were novice monks and many were of the Hmong ethnic group. We did notice while we were there that there was a predominance of male students, and this continues to be a problem in Laos and other developing nations where girls are required to be at home to attend to chores and cannot attend after-school classes. This was incredibly noticeable at the centre that we popped into. I saw one girl, and I think there was another girl another time if I'm not wrong. Our engagements with these monks, college and university students led to further opportunities. One day, by conversing with a group of teacher college students, we were invited to a privately run Hmong after-school language centre set up in a backyard of a trainee teacher's brother-in-law's house in a Hmong settlement on the outskirts of the city. This actually came about because we were talking about selfies with the young Hmong teachers, and we taught them how to do a Wi-Fi instead of a selfie, and they thought that was the best thing that they'd ever heard. So we became instant friends. Arriving at the Hmong school on the outskirts of the city by tuk-tuk, we found that a shed had been built. The bare earth floor supported rows of basic desks and plank chairs, and a well-used and barely legible blackboard was set at the front of the room. The room was divided into two, one section to teach English and one to teach Chinese. Our team split up so we covered both classrooms. Suddenly, some of our high school Chinese learning came back to a couple of our students, and they were dragged into the Chinese teaching room. Much of the teaching done in this classroom is actually done by rote repeating, but we were able to break into groups after a period of time, and all our volunteer team had students surrounding them. The local trainee teachers then became our guides, and they roamed around assisting us with our many challenges in teaching these students. Some of the students had only just started their lessons in English or Chinese, and some were on their very first day in this class, so they were learning some of their very first sentences or words in English. This was a great challenge to our team. The finale to our trip was volunteering on and supporting a book party. The Big Brother Mouse team loaded books, writing materials, milk, and our team also into 2 trucks, and we headed out of the city to a village primary school. One of the highlights was that we got to sit in the back of the truck as we went along. I didn't mention that to the students' parents beforehand. There we worked with the Big Brother Mouse team and the local teachers in all their activities that they did that day. They were extremely well-structured activities, commencing with a classroom blackboard task of drawing letters into animals, which the students copied into their little books. This was broken up with outside ball games, followed by refreshment of milk, and then it was back into the classrooms for a dramatic reading of one of the Big Brother Mouse published storybooks. They're very good storyteller readers, these people. And we also clapped along to the singing of the Big Brother Mouse song. You're going to hear that song at the end of this talk tonight. After this, each student was given a book to take home, each of the primary school children, and our donation of books was presented to the school, for the school to keep for the students. We had an intense schedule, so remember that during all of this volunteering, our team was taking photos. They were volunteering morning and night, going on all these different things, invited for extra volunteering, and they were also taking photos and using the photos that they took as visual aids to prompt reflections on their experiences. We posted our trip on social media pages, handy for the parents to read as well, and we also were all the team members were expected to do a reflexive journal. We did this through a blog, and the blog site that we used was the Crate blog site. I'm just hoping this will come up for me. This is our Crate blog site. Crate is a new company developed in an entrepreneurial, new social startup in Singapore. So we were able to use this site to do our reflections. These are some of our reflections that we're doing. This one is talking about the village experience, a memorable teaching experience with village children when we were hopping into the tuk-tuk in order to go out to the Hmong school, the night school that we went to. So it's just one of our pictures. The students would post their reflections on this blog site, and then I would comment on them. There wasn't a lot of comments from other students. They got a bit slack about doing it, actually. But one of the great things was that the people who designed Crate, this startup, Singaporean startup, were actually on there commenting on the posts that the students were making, and that was absolutely fantastic. We're very, very happy that Crate had us on board as a sort of experiment with them. We also noticed with the Crate page that what a lot of the people that joining this particular blog site are interested in social issues and social issues around the tropics and Southeast Asia. So we thought we really fitted in well within their blog site. Field trips generally provide incubator conditions and put students under pressure, extreme pressure, where they are handling multiple tasks at the one time. There was volunteering as well as individual projects that students are still working on, the taking of photographs, all with permission. We actually saw in the exhibition sometimes where the students were asking permission, or they were showing their camera to local people, showing them the photo. You would have also seen on our exhibition that we had some Instagram photographs. No. Polaroids, thank you. Polaroid photos on the desk there, and that's because Alex, who's a very, very good photographer, is a professional photographer, decided he wasn't going to take his camera but wanted to take Polaroids and show local people. So he spent his time doing that. So every day there was these intense experiences, also the reflection that was going on. There were also team meetings over both lunch and dinner, except that Nurul, our tutor, decided I was getting too hard on the students and should let them off after lunch, so I had to change the plans. So despite the intense schedule, the team maintained good spirits and a good sense of humour. And I want to share one moment of fun with you. It was happening during one dinner party that we were having, and I'm just going to get up our Tropical Philanthropy. This is our Tropical Philanthropy Facebook page, and on that we were able to communicate and put out some posts every now and again. So this is one. Keep an ear out for this. It happens pretty fast. I'll try and get it up nice and quickly. Let's see if this will work. So what that was about is that I suddenly found out that my students can do excellent jungle noises, so that kept us amused for a period of time. So now, after that outline of what we actually did in it, and that I did make the students work very hard and that we did have some fun at some stage, I really warmly welcome to our Tropical Philanthropy team to tell you some of their small moments of engagement that made this field trip so alive for them, and I hope important in years to come for them as well. I think they've got it in order on which person's coming up first. Is that you? Okay. Oh, we got a double team coming up first. May I introduce to you Alex and Nikhil. Alex and Nikhil teamed up together, and so they're going to tell you about their project, and Jen's here to do the slides for them. Okay, fine.
Hello everyone, my name is Alex. This is Nikhil, and we're talking today because on the trip we did everything together.
Not exactly.
Okay, so when we first got there, we were really disappointed because of the sheer number of tourists we found in Laos. We were like, why are we on an anthropology trip to a tourist location? So being very disappointed by the fact that we're not seeing many local Lao people, we wanted off to find the real local people of Lao. So we actually found a local Lao tavern. Yeah, so this is the number of tourists there. We found a local tavern which looks like this. And it was actually really intimidating because when we went inside, it was mostly men and they were very, very unfriendly. They kind of hated us being there. Yeah, so we were really intimidated, but we were really excited and we were like, yes, this is how true anthropologists must feel like.
So we decided to try and gain their trust. So initially we sat in the front of the tavern, all quiet with our little drinks, and then we decided that, okay, maybe we need to take a step forward and let's try to take photographs, and then we decided to see how they reacted to us. So Jen started off taking a few photographs. They didn't look too happy until Alex pulled out his Polaroid camera and then took a few photographs. And once they saw that the images were actually coming out of the camera immediately, they got excited. That's when Alex took photos of a few elder gentlemen who in fact loved having their photos taken. So that's when we gifted them the Polaroids, and that's actually when the ice broke.
So we felt super proud of ourselves. We were like, yes, we are now true anthropologists. We found the real people of Laos, not all the touristy stuff.
Yeah. So then we realized that we couldn't communicate with them because this was a little further out of the main city area of Luang Prabang. We also realized that universal sign language is not universal at all. And then we decided, okay, instead of being intrusive, we're gonna go back. Since they're already nice to us. And yeah.
Okay, so we came back the next day, we got two translators along. They were actually our friends from the guest house. We got two friends from the guest house. One was a local guy, Lao, and the other was a Vietnamese guy. So we went back the next day full of hope about uncovering some deep insights as to the lives of the local Lao people, because the place was so crowded with tourists. We were really interested to find out how the local people felt about the tourism in Laos.
Yeah, so then when we went back, one of our friends, thank goodness, was Vietnamese. He walked in and then he came back out. Okay, before we went there, we told them about our project. We're looking for Lao people, we want to communicate. He walks in first and he comes out laughing at us, and he's just like, they're not Lao people, they're all Vietnamese. And so we were laughing at ourselves at how pretentious we've been and how we failed at the one thing that Lao is full of, Lao people.
So we sat there for a long time wondering what we're going to do and wondering whether we should just call it a day, go back and regroup. Then this lovely lady came and started asking us whether we wanted to try some of her soybean, which in Singapore is called tau hui.
So since she was so friendly and she decided, she agreed to sit down and talk to us, our Vietnamese friend, thank goodness he was there, was able to translate for us. But then we soon realized that there are three things that actually hindered our communication. The first was that things get lost in translation a lot. The weight and gravity of the questions don't get sent across and don't come back to you. The second thing is that our translator was young and he was not very comfortable with the questions we were asking. you know, things like, oh, are there any, like, are people not comfortable between the Vietnamese and the Laotian people? These kind of questions. And the third thing was like, nobody likes two young punks trying to figure out their personal lives, you know, why they came here, who their husband was, those kind of things.
So instead, she invited us to, we started talking a little bit more about her soybean drink. It was very, very nice. We went back every day. And yeah. So because we were so interested in this drink, she asked us whether we wanted to come back the next day to learn how to make it. And we were like, why not? So we went back and we saw how she made this tau huay drink from scratch. She literally grind the beans, the soybeans. I actually helped her do one of the batches. I didn't really help her, I kind of just messed everything up while she laughed at me. But I made a small attempt to make the drink, and here's a short video of it.
Okay. No. Underwater. Good. Not yet.
As you can see, I was pretty lousy. Never cleaning up.
Finish.
Okay.
Boiling. Yeah.
So yes, that was the end of our interaction with this lady. So because we have to cut things short, we have two main lessons that we actually learned along this journey. The first is that anthropology doesn't have to be a very deep, the goal of anthropology does not necessarily have to be very deep. On this trip, we learned that anthropology is made up of small, simple gestures, such as respecting people's spaces, giving gifts to break the ice, and participating in shared activities to get to know someone else.
The other thing that we learned was that tourism and other cultures play a huge part of the real Lao. And while we're doing field work, it's very important to not let our own expectations and preconceived notions limit our views. For example, if we continued looking for the local Lao, the real Lao, we would have walked away from the Vietnamese establishment and gone for a hunt for another story. So, and that would have cost us this deep personal interaction that we truly enjoyed.
So that comes to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
And thank you very much for coming, it means a lot to us.
Hi everyone, my name is Genevieve and my story is about my Novice Encounter. So basically, as you can see here, this is actually a Buddhist monk high school, and I stumbled across this by accident. Over here, I interacted with my first novice monk, and obviously I was really nervous. He was about 15 years old, I was 21, but the age didn't matter. So from this point on, this sparked my interest in the whole culture of Buddhism, how Buddhism is a major religion in Laos, and also how the many novice monks walking around the streets in Luang Prabang. At Big Brother Mouse, the place where we volunteered at, I actually met another novice monk, and I approached him and I asked him if it was okay for him to show me around his school, maybe get to know his friends a little bit better, actually be him being my tour guide. So, which is what I did for the next couple of days. He showed me around the school, I talked to some of his friends, and the main thing I found out about all of them, was that many of them come from villages outside of Luang Prabang, and they come to the main town, this Buddhist school, to receive an education. They may not have the opportunities at home, they may not be able to afford it, so many of them actually become novices because of education, to go to school, to learn, and less of religious reasons, which I thought was very interesting, because I think the usual assumption we have is that, oh, you know, novice monks, Buddhism, religious, you know, many rules to follow. So, other than that, I actually made another friend. His name is Novice T, whom I got with really well with. And he invited me back to his temple where we just hung out as friends. And the more time I spent with him, the more it moved from my project to just simply spending time with a friend. And that was an experience it's really close to my heart, because it's the first time I experienced something like that. And it made me realize that we always think of novices as boys who are religious, who have to keep to certain rules. They're good. I think that's the simple word to sum that up. But I think we should remember that they were boys first, and then novices. Yes, thank you. That was my Novice Encounter.
We also have another round of applause for Jen. Jen's been doing all the stuff behind the scenes on putting all our photos together so that they're on the slideshow. So that's been a huge amount of work. That's all been under my curatorial eye, and as my students and my volunteer team and my tutors know, that's a very, very eagle eye, and it's really horrible to be around sometimes. Thank you, Jen, so much for doing all that work. Next up is Clara to speak about her experience.
Okay, I've been to different volunteer trips, and one thing that made this trip very different was from the start we had a lot of workshops, and during those workshops, Dr. Anita will always emphasize to put down our superiority mindset when we go for the trip. Yeah, like she was talking about the ethnocentrism earlier. So, a lot of students in Laos go to Big Brother Mouse. If you all saw at the photo exhibition earlier, Big Brother Mouse was the learning center over there that we went over to help out with. And yeah, apart from school and other classes that they also attend every day, they will attend Big Brother Mouse after school and then off to some other lessons after that. So it's like a whole day of learning. So unlike what I imagined we would be doing at Big Brother Mouse, I thought we would be like teaching a class of children like how to teach English and things like that. But no, when we went there, we actually started having like individual conversations with each of them. I didn't feel like we were teaching them. It was more like a conversation with all of them. Yeah, and through that they improve and practice their English. On one of my more special encounter was with a novice monk who was also there to practice, and his English was surprisingly good. I ended up learning a thing or two from him. And this brings back to the superiority mindset. If I were to have that superior thinking, I wouldn't actually learn from him. So yeah, this was something I learned, and the difference in this volunteer trip that made it so different for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Clara, can I ask you where you got your outfit from? It's beautiful.
This is from Laos, the scarf.
Thank you. Next up is Ramage, and we just have to get, is that your slide or the next one? The next one's yours?
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Ramage, and the story I wanted to share was about my interaction with the people at Big Brother Mouse. And, well, just to kind of start things off, this whole trip was kind of a really, really strange and bizarre experience for me. The main reason for that is because it's the first time I've been on one of these like volunteering trips, and second of it was an anthropological trip. And that's the weirdest thing because I'm not even an anthropology student, I'm an IT student. So it just kind of compounded the strangeness of the whole situation. And so one of the most enlightening events, I guess, I had on the trip was actually during my interaction with the people at Big Brother Mouse. First of all, again, just like Clara, I thought that we were going to go in and say, read a book to a classroom. And when we went there, it said, okay, you guys have 2 hours. Keep making conversation with the people there. And it's like, the first day was torturous because I'm not a good person at conversing to people. So it's like, hey buddy, how's the weather here? It's really good. And so it was the worst thing. And then afterwards, the more I talked to them, the more I learned about them, the first revelation I had was that these people, they weren't different at all. They were the same age as us. They were straight out doing the same things we were doing. They were going to college, they were going to university. And then I realized that more than half of the people I talked to were actually also IT students. So that was the strangest thing because it suddenly, from trying to grind out conversation from a rock, instead we began just talking about IT things. It's like, wow, C# is such nonsense to learn. And then we all just complained about C# because that's such nonsense to learn. And it became so normal, so fluid. So it was one of the nicest things. And over here you see this video was actually after the whole projects and all were done. I was just sitting downstairs playing Dota, playing video games. And immediately the owner's son of the inn where we were in, he came up and said, is that Dota? And then it's like, he was also a player of Dota. And it was the best thing because it's like one of those feelings you get when everyone is just kind of universally connected and universally angry at the same things like Dota. It's like, it's just one of the best experiences I had about this whole trip. Is that we really aren't that far apart. We have our interests and honestly we are more connected than we think we are. Right? And that's it.
Ramage, how many anthropology subjects and other subjects in the Bachelor of Arts have you taken now?
5 or 3? Including cities and all. Oh, 4. But I haven't taken basic anthropology.
No, 4, but he never took basic anthropology. I don't know how you got into the advanced classes. Jasmine is up now. Jasmine, to share your one, I'll just put your slide on for you. It's the one backwards.
Alright, so this is a photo that I took when we were going to the night school, the Hmong school that Dr. Anita was talking about. So what I'm going to tell you guys about is an experience that happened in the night school itself. And I think this was the most memorable experience that I had. So the classes were divided into Chinese and English, as Dr. Anita has said, and I went into the English class. So the class was packed, and there was so many things to do, and we were conversing with them basic phrases, and like just role-playing and talking out basic conversation. Then after a while, we broke out into small groups. So 1 Singaporean student to 3 to 4 Hmong students. And what I did was I chose the group at the side. I should have known from personal experience that the people who sit at the side are usually the really shy ones. So I started talking to them, and they didn't want anything to do with me. And I had no Lao, like I knew no Lao, and they knew very little English because they were very basic beginner English students. They had started learning English about a month ago. So it was very difficult to converse with me trying to grasp at threads and them trying to grasp at threads when they wanted to. So the teacher came about and he told me to focus on things like words, like days of the week, numbers, etc., etc. So I started doing that. So what I did was I started teaching them, and they would repeat what I would say to them. But that got dry so quickly. So we started improvising. Jason had this wonderful idea where he sent one of his students to my table and asked them to have a basic conversation with me. So I stole that idea and I sent a few of my students to his table and asked them to have a basic conversation. And more than that, I started having conversations about things like their family. I drew out mother, father, sister, and I taught them those words. And they asked me about my family too. So I think what I learned from this experience is that we are more similar than we are different. Things like games, family, things that we all have in common will be universal. And if we go in there with that superiority mindset that I had, that Clara talked about and Ramage talked about at the start, where I was trying to teach them English, it would have gone nowhere at the end of the day, because when I started connecting to the person instead of the other, or instead of the student, that's when things started getting more lively. That's when they started learning, and so did I. And I think that is the most memorable experience I had in Laos. Thank you.
So, hi everyone. Thank you once again for coming out. My name is Jason, and I'll be sharing on my experience in Laos as well. So, for me, when I first came to this trip, I was just told, you're just going to do some volunteering and you're going to be sharing about English with them and try and sort of teach them how to speak English. So, the sort of mindset that I had was more one way, that I just talk about English and I tried to get them to learn how to speak it. But once I was there, I actually realized something completely different. That not only were they trying to learn from me, I was actually learning from them as well. Because especially with language, when you're trying to teach language, it's so important to actually have a sort of knowledge of that language as well, so you can do that sort of translation. Otherwise, some things can be very hard to explain. So for me personally, I picked up an interest in learning their language. So when we went to Big Brother Mouse to talk to them and converse with them, I was trying to learn like how to speak Hmong and how to speak Lao as well. One of the biggest things that I've learned was actually related to something that I come from. I've been playing the guitar for about 6 to 7 years, and I've been performing for the past 2 years or so. So music is something that I feel very connected to. I always found that it's a very great way for you to express yourself and to passionately share with other people. So when we went to the book party, I'll remember I was actually standing outside the classroom, and then like the teachers were actually teaching the Big Brother Mouse to the students, the Big Brother Mouse song to the students. Then I was like, oh, I wish I had my guitar with me, so I can, I can just play along to them and stuff, because I really like the song. In the end, once the teacher was done teaching and all the children ran out to play, I actually approached the teacher and connected with one of the teachers. As you can see from the photo, I actually talked to the guy in red. So basically I tried to learn the lyrics from him and the meaning of the song from him, hoping that when I come back to Singapore, I'll be able to pick up my guitar, add some chords to it, and just try and make a song, to add like an instrumental aspect to it. So I tried it with the guitar when I came back, and I realized that it didn't really sound right. The other day I went to this music store called Sweeney, and I saw this ukulele on display. Then I was like, oh man, I always wanted a ukulele, but I don't know how to play it. So I thought, why not? It was on sale, so I just bought it. And I tried to play the chords to it, because ukulele and guitar is quite similar. Then when I played it, I realized that the ukulele actually suits this more, because the ukulele has a very chirpy tone. It's like very like jumpy, and it gives me a very happy feeling when I play it. And I realized that this greatly reflected how I felt when I was in Laos. I felt very comfortable and I felt very happy to be there. So actually, right now, I brought this ukulele with me, and I'm going to play the Big Brother Mouse song for you guys. I have my very close friend here, Clara, and she's going to provide me with some support by holding the mic for me. Thank you very much. Oh yeah. I have a slide with the lyrics and the meaning. So here goes something.ทุกๆวัน15 นาทีไอ้หนูน้อยมีกิจกรรมฟักไข่เห่าตั้งขอในเจ้าตั้งขอดีใจตั้งข่าวในเจ้าตั้งขอดีใจที่เฮาจะได้อ่านตรงนี้ทันที่เฮาจะได้อ่านตรงนี้ทันทุกๆวัน15 นาทีไอ้หนูน้อยมีกิจกรรมฟักไข่เห่าตั้งถอยในเจ้าทำข้อดีใจตั้งถอยในเข้าทำข้อดีใจที่เฮาจะได้อ่านพรุ่งนี้ทันที่เฮาจะได้อ่านพรุ่งนี้ทัน
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, team, for coming on the Tropical Philanthropy first field trip. We would like to thank the Vice Chancellor and President of James Cook University for being here tonight. It was very gracious of her to open this, and to Ken for opening and introducing us as well.